All right, welcome to our new show. Joining our Roll for Crit lineup of shows, our podcast, our playbacks, our 101 videos. The point of this one is to explain the expansions for the games that we have already played through our playbacks. Because as some of our playbacks have expansions mixed in, maybe some expansions haven't come out yet, maybe we didn't mix in because we didn't know it well enough. And we want to make some videos so we can actually explain what's in the expansion, what to add, what are our thoughts on it.
Sure.
And so that's what this series will come out. Usually, maybe every other Thursday. We'll see what happens. But without further ado, we decided to choose this expansion to celebrate the new coming of Daredevil to Netflix, coming out this Friday, which would be, depending on when this airs, either tomorrow or this day.
Or maybe years ago if you're watching it later on.
But without further ado...
Yeah, so that would be the Marvel Legendary expansion Dark City, which was the first large expansion released for the Legendary Marvel game in 2013. They have this ongoing release schedule where every year they have one big box and two small ones, I believe.
Yes, correct. We've seen more, which we'll talk about more for each one.
But we're going to focus on this, I believe also this is so far the only big box for the base Legendary, not villains.
As of this airing,
until the next one comes out, Secret Wars.
Yes.
Later this year. But this was a big deal. It comes with a lot of stuff. It nearly, I think, probably does double the amount of cards in the original game.
Yeah, I think.
At least, or the amount of heroes at any rate.
Oh, yeah.
And it's got 17 heroes, 5 masterminds, 6 new villain groups, 2 henchmen groups, and 8 schemes. And a bunch of other unique new stuff, mechanics and keywords that we're going to get into. They changed the bystanders. One of the big things people really liked about this was they addressed some of the complaints from the original. Namely, people didn't like the same artwork being on every hero's card. They only had one picture. In this one, each of their cards has a unique artwork. Not all, there's 14 cards in a set, but for like the 4 that do the same thing, they have one, etc., etc.
Right. So you still can, like, if you held a whole card of, let's say, whatever your hero is, you can actually tell which card it is just based on the artwork.
Yeah, which might as well talk about. I mean, I think it's great.
No, it's really awesome. I'm a little disappointed what they're doing because they realized how much we want it. They're releasing in booster packs.
Right.
The alternate, the same thing for the ones in the base set,
a lot of people have wanted a new version of the base with all new artwork.
Yeah, no, that would be amazing. But
we'll see. Someday.
Yeah, maybe.
They might.
But we're getting off topic. We've got to focus on this expansion.
Although one thing that also does is it can make it a little harder to organize. Because it's not as easy to just look at the pictures and when you're putting the game away at the end. But I think it's a worthwhile trade-off.
Oh, absolutely, no question.
And also this game makes the game much more challenging. A lot of the villains are much harder to beat, and it comes with a lot of extra modes and variants that you can use to make things.
And of course, a couple other cards to sort of start. It's the start. It wasn't. This one wasn't a lot, but I think the other ones have more. But sort of start where you can start annoying your friends, like being a bit more competitive.
A little bit, yeah. More of the
not as significant as maybe some of the future expansions, which we'll get to. But like I know, one hero in particular I can think of that does it. But first, let's actually start with the heroes.
Yeah.
They introduced 2 new groups. We still see a lot of X-Men who did appear in Legendary, but we did see also X-Force. For those who don't know, X-Force actually is a revamp of an old group called the New Mutants. It was printed around the 1980s. This came out in 1991. It was sort of like a militant wing of the X-Men, run by Cable, who is the son of Cyclops from the future, who travels back in time and stuff. So this group included Cable, had Domino, another Wolverine, which is definitely something that a lot of people got excited because that meant we can have different versions of cards, which another expansion, which we'll get to, did that for a different hero.
Yeah.
We also saw...
I want to get into that later.
Yes, Colossus, who I know I was really happy about because he's a favorite of mine because my friend likes him, the character. But we also saw the Marvel Knights. This is actually when back around 1998, Marvel sort of gave some of their characters, Black Panther, Daredevil, the Punisher, and Inhumans, sort of off to other writers because trying to make them a bit more, they're darker, more serious stories. And now that's usually, they title the Marvel Knights, other heroes may get Marvel Knight titles, but it's really where they do much more sort of, I want to say, like adult, like mature themes and stories.
That's definitely the overall theme and feel of this set. It's the dark, gritty, the street level, real fighting kind of.
Out of the 4 I said before, though, we do see Punisher and of course Daredevil, as you said, to celebrate Daredevil.
Right.
But we also get to see some other really cool ones like Blade, who I didn't even know was Marvel.
Oh right, I remember that.
Elektra, Iron Fist, and Ghost Rider, who's the one I was thinking of, who does a bit more hating on your
PvP,
friends.
so to speak. We don't even have a Black Panther yet, do we?
No, I've been dying for a Black Panther.
We'll see.
I'm guessing my guess is they're gonna eat.
Anyway,
yeah.
We'll get to that.
Well, it's because he's also Avenger, so I think that's why he didn't go into this.
Right. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff there to play around with. And why don't we get into the nitty-gritty of what they actually do, which ones we like. Well, so we'll talk about some of the ones that highlight the new stuff in this set.
Right.
So this was the set that introduced keywords. So some cards have little, I don't know how else to say it, a keyword. And
it would be a word in bold, which would be like one or two words, which would refer to an ability it can do.
So, for example, Nightcrawler has the teleport ability. That means that at the end of your turn, if instead of playing him, you can put his card aside and add it to your hand next time around, so you'll have a bigger hand to start with on the next turn.
So if you felt like you really couldn't push your way forward and whatever you wanted to do in this hand, you can save it up for next hand to maybe get a better chance. Another big ability that I came across was critical hits. In the original set, there's a way to activate your superpower, in which let's say it show a green fist symbol, meaning you have to play a green fist symbol hero before playing this card to activate its bonus ability. In this, the critical hits means you have to play 2 different symbols. They usually are the same. Occasionally they can be different. I don't think this had any different ones. I think later on that was different. Yeah. But it usually gave a really big ability for whatever the card. The one in particular I can think of is Iron Fist. He had one card that was extremely cheap. It cost 1. And it had draw a card. But if you played 2 green cards before it, it gave attack, which made it a really good early on card that also gave some good bonuses later on.
I think that's another new thing for this set was 1-costing cards.
Yeah, that's very rare still.
Yeah.
I think these heroes are the only ones that can really... When I think 1-costing, I think of the heroes in this.
Yeah, Colossus.
Him, Elektra.
I think.
Colossus does, because his was because it gave you a wound when you played it. They all have drawbacks usually.
Right.
Or they don't do anything
unless
you really play them.
Right. But yeah, so that's what teleport and then the critical hits. There also was the new bribe mechanic, which was actually a thing for the villains, where normally to defeat them you could use attack power. There's 2 currencies in the game, attack and recruit. But in this version, you could use recruit and attack in a combination. Right, for some...
Which made perfect sense, because all the villains who had them were like the gangsters, so you actually bribed...
Kingpin, actually, you could do it as a mastermind.
No, it was really cool.
We definitely like that one. And then the final one...
of course, is Versatile. Now, this one is a really cool one, and also really annoying.
As we discovered.
Yes. Annoying for certain people.
Right. Annoying if you're not the one who has it.
Yes. Versatile usually had a star and a attack symbol on it, a recruit and attack. Meaning usually you could choose one or the other for whatever you wanted. This turns out to be extremely useful, because then when you buy this card, you can choose whether you need more attack or bind. Or in some cases, there's a card, Domino's whole thing is about versatility, in which she has one of her cards is discard a card, and then she gets 4 attack, either 4 attack or 4 money, depending whether it has a star or a recruit symbol on it. But if it has both, she gets both. So it becomes really easy to chain and becomes really strong.
Yeah, she was really powerful. But overall, like, which of these keywords do you really like? Are there any you're like not crazy about? I know one. I feel like the one they haven't really. We almost never made use of it is teleport.
Well, I do have issues, but I don't think it's because teleport is bad. I just don't think there's a lot of people who have it. Right. And this is my big issue with all the legendary expansions so far. There's a lot of these keywords. All are cool. I love them all. You're not seeing them outside. Oh, currently, as of this date,
right?
They're not outside this set, which is really disappointing, because I think there's a lot of ways you can mix and match keywords. I think only the most recent set as of this date actually drew from a previous set.
Right, yeah.
Which we'll talk about later, because I haven't even played that expansion, so I don't want to talk about it.
Right. Yeah, so that definitely is kind of a bummer, especially something like Versatile is just such a...
Versatile's fun.
Easy one to use. Yeah.
Bribe, I just thought was so flavorful. I think that has to be my favorite out of all of them. Critical hits was like, it was there.
It's like
it's not that it's bad. It's
makes
just
sense to have
the other
it.
ones have a word, like
right.
yeah.
And also, I feel like I never get the critical hits. Like you have to really plan.
I get them occasionally because usually you stack a hero and they usually fit the colors. The only exception is there. I won't say because it's a different expansion, but this person has a critical hit in 2 other colors, something which he doesn't really have colors of, and it's not that great of a bonus. So I don't think it's a very good one.
Right.
But overall, this is the first time we saw the keywords. I know we were both really excited when we saw this. We're like, dude, look at all this. You can bribe him.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about some of the heroes that we really like.
So what were some of your favorites?
Well, I think we maybe touch on some of the stuff in our legendary video for the base, but I know Daredevil is one of my favorites.
Let's say this. We're not saying this because he actually always has loved Daredevil, and I agree. I think he was a really cool because he didn't really use these keywords. At least I don't recall.
No.
But they really did an interesting to play on your blindness. Right. I want to say actually
because you can guess what the next card in your deck is going to be, or the cost. And if you're correct, you either get to draw it or you get extra attack power.
And he, of course, had ways to put cards on top of your deck.
Right.
So the whole thing plays a great way of how his senses being blind.
I think that's genius.
No, I thought it was a really good job on him.
I know you like Iron Fists.
Iron Fist is pretty cool. I loved it because he's interesting. He depends on the different costs of your cards. But I think, once again, I said...
I know who else you really like.
Because of Versatile, I really love Domino. Mm-hmm. Because I really loved being able to just have a choice. Colossus I really enjoyed because his whole thing was you actually take the weaknesses from other people. That's who he is, which is really cool. But then he had cards that said if you would gain a weakness, do something else instead, which is more like a defense from DC.
I think we both found that one of the strongest ones was Angel.
Oh, no question. It's like at first you don't think so, but his whole thing was discarding and drawing. And I forget who it was with. It was with someone, but he's able to chain so hard, combo really easily.
Yeah, and you can draw so many cards, and it's really nice.
He was a lot of fun. I'm trying to think of another.
I know.
The Wolverine, I haven't played enough of him.
Well, I think that's a good one to focus on because, like you said, that is the first time they repeated a character.
Yes.
They really have only done it twice so far, with Spider-Man in the later set.
And one could argue the Hulk. Because the Hulk and Juggernaut.
Well, okay, the villain version.
The Fear itself, Pick 'em Hammer, that's all.
But yeah, so that's,
But it makes sense.
It is. I know some people feel like I'd rather have something new than another Wolverine.
Well, I don't think it's that bad in my view because it's not like he's the only one.
Right.
They didn't do a huge thing, and there are plenty of heroes. For example, Ant-Man has multiple versions.
Right. Obviously, Spider-Man has a million.
Well, no, not. Well, I'm saying he's people similar to him. Like the black suit is actually Peter Parker, though.
Oh, I see. Right. Yeah.
But technically, I know he did that whole thing when he had 4 different outfits or something. But
when you get down to it, they all have 4 alternate.
So I don't think that's too bad, especially when you do alternate groups or different versions of them from other worlds. I mean, there's a new expansion coming out as of this video. We will mention it. The Secret Wars. Based on what's happening in the comics, and pretty much they're just that's just every dimension, just food fight. But including going back to this set.
Yeah, let's talk about Ghost Rider because we said he's a weird one.
He's a weird one because he's the first time they tried something a little PvP-ish.
Isn't he?
He would steal from people's victory point piles.
Doesn't he also? He can sacrifice your own victory point cards.
But then you could steal destroy other people. Yeah.
And it's always kind of seemed like it's a great concept, but I never really wanted to sacrifice because that's my stuff. I'm trying to think.
Professor X, I really like. His big card, you actually took a villain and put it in your deck and you used it.
Oh yeah. He definitely is an interesting one because he's probably the first or maybe the only not straight up a superhero, he's usually the advisory role. And also I will say for the most part I love the art in this set. I think Professor X easily is the worst. There's one card of his I'll put it up that just I always look at it who approved this? But other than that,
who's that before Professor X?
Iceman.
Iceman, I forgot. Yeah.
I kind of...
He was an interesting one, but pretty, just way off the colors.
Yeah, Elektra kind of standard.
Forge was interesting, because he was what Iron Man should have been, in my opinion. Iron Man in the other set, I don't know what your opinion, but I find Iron Man falls flat compared to all the other groups in the first.
The big problem, I think, with the early set is that because it was the intro set, a lot of the later cards are much stronger, so you end up with like Iron Man and Captain America not being that strong.
Well, no, that's the thing. I still feel Captain America stands like all
I
the
think
other cards.
He's a bad example, but some
no,
of the
I mean
other
like
ones,
most of the other ones, I'm pretty happy with. Iron Man, I never want to like. I feel like he just like his big card is a letdown compared to the rest. Maybe I'm wrong, but Forge was.
I'm with you.
Forge's whole thing is he's only technology,
right?
Only the technology type, which I think would make sense for Iron Man. And he just plays off of playing lots of technology, and I think that would have been great for Iron Man. Just you keep playing suits, and then next thing you know, you just blow up everything.
Yeah, I'm sure there's got to be more Iron Man versions coming out.
Oh well, yeah, with all the suits.
How about the Masterminds?
Well, like we said, Kingpin we love. I thought they're so flavorful, so cool.
He's also the only one who I really was familiar with. A lot of these other ones.
Well, I knew Apocalypse,
right?
Because he's the big X-Man villain. And that's why those are the two on the cover.
Ah, I mean, they're definitely harder. We can say that without.
Yeah, no. Well, they definitely challenge you more. Like the other ones used to be like in the first set was more like reveal a green hero, take a move. That's it. Like very simple. But in this it was like discard down to 3, then do this or they definitely made it. They made them stand out more.
More persistent effects.
Yes,
as opposed to
really cool.
Just being some guy to fight. And then of course there's these schemes would be the
right. But actually, you know what I think we should mention because it's sticking with the villains.
Okay,
a big thing that makes Legendary Dark City I think one of the best expansions. More henchmen.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of sad because guess how many henchmen groups there are? As I said at the top of the show, 2. And I think this was the last time we got new henchmen.
It is,
besides
unless you count the packs,
villains.
which is.
What pack? Oh, you mean or the villains set,
which we'll talk about later.
We just had a weird, awkward pause for a second. And I know, there aren't many henchmen groups, so you end up seeing the same ones over.
That's
and over
definitely,
and over.
I think, a big problem that they've had, and that's why I think they released them in the packs. Unfortunately, it sort of backfired on them, at least in my opinion, because to get a full henchman group's really hard, and then of course you want the other things.
Well, we'll see. That could be like a non-issue in the future, but that's
but the henchmen
City-wise,
I really liked because the street goons, which you can bribe, which is always great because because then you do a lot more thinking like, okay, maybe I'll put a couple recruit points toward them as well as attack.
Right.
To me, and then by this, that's why I love. I think that's why I like the bribe. I think the bribe made much more interesting,
especially early on when you don't have as much to work with.
Yeah.
You have those choices available.
I can't remember what the other one they introduced.
I don't remember either.
Yeah,
couldn't have been that great.
It was. I think it was the. They're not the Savage Land. Like they're not mutants. Mutates. I think.
Oh yeah.
Those are pretty good because you draw an extra card.
I don't know because like the henchmen, I get it mixed up.
Because
with
we've already mixed everything together.
Yeah, it's hard for me to separate those anymore. But
I'm trying to think who they lead. That's why.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure one of them leads them. And of course, the villain groups in there I thought were pretty cool. Like, I'm pretty sure this came with one that's a 0 cost to beat, but you have to show 3 cards that cost 0 to beat them.
Huh. Yeah.
Like, do you remember that kind?
I don't.
I remember because it's really interesting. It's like KO 3 heroes or something from your hand that are 0 cost. So it's like, okay.
Are we ready for schemes?
Yeah.
So of course there's the schemes that change the overall play of the game. And some I thought were really cool. I know one of the ones I really like is the destroy the helicarrier.
Yes,
or something.
Attack on the helicarrier.
Something with the helicarrier.
Yeah.
Someone's destroying the helicarrier. Where your baseline of cards you can buy actually gets smaller as you.
Because that's the helicarrier getting destroyed, and if the whole thing gets destroyed, it blows up.
That's a great concept.
Yeah,
and it's great being able to see like your destruction coming towards you.
The capturing the Hope Baby is a cool one because there's like a token for the baby Hope.
Right.
And you
capturing the Hope Babies. Yeah, they usually use like a penny or something. Yeah, I like that because again, it's neat to see something actually tracking something on the board that you're trying to get after.
Right.
A couple others. There's
I know. Oh, you're
schemes? No, go ahead.
Beyond schemes. No, continue with schemes then.
No, I was just going to mention them offhand.
Okay.
So the plutonium one, the Save Humanity one.
The earthquake generator.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite things from the set, I just forgot that this is the set that introduced it.
Go ahead.
Unique bystanders.
Right, big one.
Very big. Like I feel like this was like one of the.
Yeah, this is the first time in the original set all bystanders, which you could rescue, were just the same thing. This time you actually had to shuffle the deck, put it face down, so you didn't know which kind you were going to get. That really helped the game.
Not only that, I really hope they do that for the other things, or at least for the wounds. I think in terms of the Marias. or the
Shield
officer.
agents, yeah.
It's I think
Officer,
it's
yeah.
I think there should just be separate sort of like what villains did, like where there's 2 different groups you can choose. But
Yeah.
like I think wounds should have that too. Because it's really cool. Because now with bystanders, if you have certain groups, cards might just say rescue a bystander. Now you actually like, okay, maybe I can draw a card off this or destroy something. On a fun note, all the artwork for the bystanders is actually people who work on Legendary.
Yeah.
We'll actually put them up. We should put up the side-by-side pictures and stuff. But that's always been really cool, and I thought that was a really great addition to the whole idea of Legendary.
I mean, bottom line, more variety is always the best thing, and that's what this whole set is more of everything, pretty much.
Yeah, and did we actually cover everything?
We covered everything.
Yeah.
I think, unless there's some other random...
Varied artwork, the challenges. Yeah, this is... But, like, overall, the Legendary, I think, throwing in just this expansion, I think, is almost a must now.
No, it absolutely...
Could you play without, like, the stuff it added? Like, the
it's the keywords, the bystanders. It really is an essential... And if you just have Legendary and you're wondering which expansion to get next... This is a no-brainer, just because for the value, for how many cards it gives you, it extends the life of the game in a
immensely.
Huge way.
Yes, it gives you much more interesting, difficult masterminds, more henchmen, which we say even with this we're still begging for more.
Harder modes,
new hero groups, which is always good, and new heroes to mix around.
It really is a good example of the company actually listening to what people wanted, and
90% of the time they have.
Yeah,
I think there's only
the two things,
henchmen and the pack thing. That's it.
But for Dark City, we absolutely recommend it.
Yeah. Yes, I can't think of anything else. I'm really excited to see what their next big expansion is that isn't a standalone.
Right, yeah.
Hopefully, it will stand up next to its brother here.
We will see. You can let us know what you think of Dark City. We'd love to hear from you. If it's your favorite expansion, if it's not, which heroes you really like, if there's some like broken combos you found or something like that.
Maybe some of the variants you like, the challenges. Maybe you like to use some regularly. Didn't you say we actually even used one of them without knowing?
I don't know.
Like defeat the mastermind a 5th time or something.
Oh yeah, sometimes we try and kill the mastermind a 5th time, which is one of their.
What do you think about the bystanders? Do you think the same thing should happen? Do you agree with me? The same thing happened to wounds? Do you think that's the dumbest idea in the world?
You could let us know by commenting right here on this video, or you could send us an email. Our email address is rollforcrit@gmail.com.
And of course, there's Twitter, which you can reach our personal Twitters or the company Twitter. Those should all be around me by now. Mm-hmm. But of course, if you want to see more videos like this, there's many ways to do that. The first one is subscribe right down there. We highly recommend you do it. All superheroes do it. It's Daredevil approved, even though we can't watch this. Also, there's our site.
Yeah, there's our site, which is rollforcrit.com, where we have the video where you can watch us playing the base game of Legendary. We'll put a link down below. As well as you can buy Legendary, its expansions, and you can watch lots of more awesome videos, get news updates, great prices, great fun for the whole family.
Yeah, so for now, I hope you enjoyed this first episode, and we'll do more for all different expansions, for all different games.
Let us know what you want to see next.
Yeah, if there's any expansion you want us to explain, or if you just want to know our opinion on it, we'll do it. Or if you have a news story you want us to talk about, we'll talk about it in our podcast.
We'd love to hear it.
But for now, I think that's it. I'm Will Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes, and this has been Roll for Crit.